Um, in terms of practice, my daughter's dance teacher, she was like not yelling, but preaching to him, you need to stretch for 30 minutes every day, just 30 minutes every day. Well, the teacher said she was getting frustrated because the dancers weren't stretching or they weren't doing it. And so she decided to try to do it herself. And she said she realized how difficult of a request that was, that it didn't sound too much, but in practice, it was. I don't know where the time goes, but it does. And some weeks are better than others. And, we mean to do a whole list of things. So, but that video that I sent last week that has single whip and single whip and waving hands and clouds to both sides, I think that will be really helpful to practice that section, because we do it to the right and then we do it to the left. And then I did one that was all the moves of Advanced 6, where it was just the practice of from commencement all the way to, open and close it out. So that one should be helpful in terms of practice. So they're like 10 to 14 minutes long, something like that. And, just like the dance teacher says, it doesn't sound like that big of a request, but those videos are out there to keep you from having to come back to this hour-long video where, you might not have an hour to redo this whole thing, or you might not even want to redo the whole thing. You just want to do that one little part. So hopefully those videos can help.
They do. And what I find is doing the stretches, like just individually, when I feel a shoulder tight, to do that, or my feet to do the corn bunion.
Right. That's right. And I have had classes in different locations, because I always kind of go by where my students are. And I have had 12-week-long classes where we didn't get past the warm-ups. We only did warm-ups for 12 weeks, but there's benefits in that. So just because you never learn a waving hands in a cloud doesn't mean you won't get benefits from, every little piece, and use it as needed. I get real stiff in my neck and shoulders, and so I feel like I'm always, doing that movement. And adding that one, even though it's not a Tai Chi move, but adding the one where it's ear towards my shoulder, because that stretches that neck as well. And if you do it in with the principles of Tai Chi, where it's, slow, smooth, continuous, and using diaphragmatic breathing with that movement, then you do get some of those benefits from Tai Chi. So I like hearing that you just pull out those movements for what you need. That's what I try to get a point across to y'all. We're not joining any Tai Chi competitions here. We're just trying to help ourselves in our daily lives. So I don't know, where is Miss Faye? I haven't heard from her. I did hear from Deborah, and I heard from Miss Glenda that she wasn't going to be able to do it until she recovered from her broken self. But she was watching the video. So if it's just me and you, Val, we'll just get started. And then if somebody comes on in, then they can join us. I want to be respectful of your time. So in the beginning of our Tai Chi, we always open and close our hands and just walk around the room, and we get our bodies ready to move. We never want to exercise without warming up our muscles, because cold muscles lend themselves to injury, and that definitely goes against what we're trying to do. We're trying to help ourselves, not hurt ourselves. just a little walking around the room, even if you're seated, pumping those arms, marching those feet in place. And then I just go head to toe with our warm-up stretches, thinking about our body awareness with our feet about shoulder width apart. So we're in a nice stable stance. We have that slight bend in our knee, so we're not standing stiff-legged. We have that soft bend, good posture, relaxed shoulders. So starting with our neck, we have our hands to our side. We bring those hands up towards our chin and chest. Push away from our bodies and follow those hands all the way down, chin towards our chest. Come back up towards our chin and chest. Push away from our bodies and follow those hands down. Come back up. Check in with your breathing and make sure you're not holding your breath. Our other neck exercise starts out that same way. We drop one hand, follow the hand to the side, back to the front, switch hands. Look towards that shoulder, feel a little stretch in that neck, and come back to the front. We're not going as far as we can go, just enough to feel that stretch. Sometimes I get a little lost on this one because it just feels good.
It does.
I don't know why I hold so much tension in my neck. All right, to our shoulders. Let's take our hands to our sides and just roll those shoulders forward and roll those shoulders back. Forward. And back. Now let's do that shoulder circle where we bring our hands up and then push down in front of us. This is one where we think about gentle resistance, like we're moving through water. That's one of our principles of Tai Chi, is gentle resistance under that section of movement control. I like to use this one just for breathing too. If Tai Chi is meditation in motion, then this is one of those meditative movements where we can inhale as we come up and exhale as we push down, and our bodies are busy, therefore our minds can be a little more quiet, and it lends itself to being meditative versus, you know, sitting in that crisscross applesauce position and just breathing and trying to clear your mind. Sometimes that's difficult to do. All right, for our spine, we have our ball. We're going to separate the heavens and the earth. One hand goes down, one hand goes up. Stretch that spine, keep that soft bend in our elbow. Come back to the ball and switch. Stretch that spine. Back to our ball. Stretch. Switch from side to side. Don't let that ball get you messed up. I'm telling you, I remember the first times doing these movements and just coming to that ball and just like spinning around on it like I didn't know where to go.
Which one?
That ball got the best of me. But the purpose of it is to have you pause, to have you slow down before you go to that next direction. You know, it just helps lend itself to Tai Chi, to have that pause. All right, let's stretch our spine side to side. We have our ball. We take it for a little ride just above that thigh. switch hands, come back across, switch hands, come back across. So we're definitely not going as far as we can. We don't want to injure our spine. We just want to warm it up a little bit so we can do our Tai Chi movements. Continue to breathe, checking in with yourself to make sure that you're not holding your breath. Now for our hips, we shift our weight to one leg. We take one heel out, hands go back. I'm going to turn to the side. Pause in the middle, foot goes back, hands go forward. Remember that foot goes back kind of like a kickstand. It helps you be more stable. Remember we talked last week that you can switch back and forth on these legs. I tend to just do 3 on one leg and then shift to the other and do 3 on the other leg.
Now, do we actually pause between when we bring that foot back in to take it backwards?
I do, and I think the reason why I do it is to give me a moment to check my balance before I take it back versus, you know, it just slows me down and doesn't let me be in a hurry. Because when my heel is forward, you see, watch this leg, there's quite a bit of a bend there, right? And when I come back and up, you see how that leg came up? So what's happening there is I'm squatting and coming up. So I might need that pause in the middle to check and make sure my balance is in a good place before I move that leg back. Does that make sense?
It does.
You don't have to. That's completely up to you. It's just what I do, and I feel like it's for safety of my balance to pause, but you don't have to. So that's that movement. You know, just something to remember is that it's not straight back, that foot straight back, it's to the side, because that opens up that hip to where it's more stable. It's the same as standing here versus standing right here. So your feet too close together can make you feel off balance. So that's why we take that leg kind of back and out to the side. You good on that, on those? Or that's our first hip. I had my teeth cleaned this morning, so you know all that stuff they put in your mouth, it just leaves the yucky, dried, yucky taste. So excuse me if I'm really into my water. So the next movement for our hips, we shift our weight from one leg to the other leg, shift, and then tap that toe out. And then we have our hands stacked like this, and we push the palm towards the direction of the weight shift. So I shift, tap out, bring that foot back in, switch my hands, shift, tap out. So notice my body stays upright. I don't lean with the movement. My upper body stays upright, and my hands stop at my frame. So I'm not going way out here, because then see that makes me start leaning. So in order to keep my body upright, I stop here, tap out, bring that foot in, switch hands, shift the weight, tap the foot out. So I'm only going as far as my frame, just the outside of my body. Oh gosh, 33LFA entered the waiting room. What you want to bet that's Miss Faye? Well, I entered her. It might take her a second. So we're going here, That's the other one for our hips. And make sure, yep, that's Miss Faye. We don't have any strangers coming in. There. All right, next for our knees, we have our loose fist down here by our hips because our shoulders are relaxed. No tension here. We're going to shift the weight to one leg, lift that foot, tap the toe out, and punch. Bring that foot back, shift the weight, lift, tap, and punch. Shift, lift, tap, and punch. So this definitely tests our balance. If you need to use a chair and skip the arm movements, that's okay. The point is here is just to stretch and warm up that knee as we do that movement. And the weight shift right here. When I talk about how these warm-ups can give you the benefits of Tai Chi without ever knowing a series of movements, that's how and why. Because right here you have the weight shift, and that's what helps build those small muscles is the weight transference. You get that in warm-ups, not just during our Tai Chi movements. So just never discount these warm-up movements. Never feel like you have to rush through them to get to what you may think is the most important thing, which is commencement, open and close, single whip. You know, it's all equally important and equally are Tai Chi. All right, now let's do our other knee exercise where we shift, step, heel, toe, shift to that front foot as you punch, bring it back, feet side by side, shift, step, heel, toe, shift as I punch, bring it back, feet side by side. I'm going to turn to the side where I shift, step, heel, toe, shift as I punch, bring it back. And I'm going to stop right here. That foot on the back, the heel stays down. So when I shift the weight to that front foot, it stays on the ground. It does not do that. You see the difference? Here, my body's leaning forward. But if my heel stays on the ground, then I'm more likely to stay upright. So that's an important part of that move, as well as not letting that knee go in front of your toe. So whenever you lean into that leg and punch, that knee stays behind the toe. And that's to help your knee. So we have shift, step, heel, toe, shift the weight forward, bring it back. And it looks to me on the screen like my knee is extending out beyond my toe. I don't know if it looks that way to y'all, but if I look down, I see my toe. So it's not as far as what it may look from the side. And I don't have a camera in the ceiling to show y'all that. Just trust me. Again, if you need to use a chair for balance, you can skip these arm punches and just hold that chair and lean into that front leg and back, lean and back, and do that slowly and smoothly, and then you'll get the benefits of that movement. The punch isn't what's important. The punch helps make it Tai Chi. So you do what you have to do to protect yourself when you have balance issues, or maybe you just are having a bad balance day. All right, next is for our ankles. We shift the weight. This is Val's favorite, heel toe. It's useful when you've been seated a while. I think about sitting in church. You know, you're in a seated position a long time, unless you're Catholic, and then I think you get up and down and kneel and but just to get some circulation in your legs, this is a helpful movement. And then here it is, bunion and corn, side to side. Miss Faye, your screen says connecting to audio. I don't know if you need to push a button that tells it to connect you. I forget what they say. You may be able to hear me, but I might not can hear you if you try to talk. Just to let you know what it says on my end. I know whenever I open up Zoom and I open up this class, I have to push connect to audio. Is that what you have to do, Val?
No, I just have to unmute myself.
Oh, okay. I love technology because from computer to tablet to phone to all of it, it's all different.
Yeah.
So you try to help people, but it's hard because everybody's devices
Setup is different.
It is. I've learned that even from my laptop to my desktop, they're different.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So are we ready? We ready to go over our movements? Do you have a favorite movement yet?
The warm-ups are my favorite.
Warm-ups are your favorite. Yeah, I like the warm-ups. My favorites are the neck ones, and I like the that shoulder, just the breathing aspect of that one. The basic 6 movements have their purpose, but when we get into our advanced 6, I think you're really going to like those because it starts to really feel like almost like a dance. Do you like to dance?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just give you a preview of our advanced movements just so that you can have a little excitement looking forward. But, you know, here we've done waving hands in clouds. We come here and we're open and close. Then we go brush knee, play the lute, parry, parry, and punch, lock and close, push the tiger up the mountain to the front, open and close, brush knee, play the lute, parry, parry, and punch, lock and close, push the tiger up the mountain to the front, open and close. So that was like speed Tai Chi, but those are our advanced 6 movements. So there's a lot of back and forth, here, parry, parry, and punch. So it's back and forth, and there's that kind of fun movement.
Pretty.
I love the advanced movements. I mean, I'll tell y'all at one point or another, they're all my favorite. Commencement is not my favorite. I think it's not a fair movement for it to be the first one. I think he did us wrong by making that one movement and that being the first. But our part 2 movements, they're a lot of fun too. And there's a movement that's called leisurely tie the coat. And it starts out with a brush knee, and then here's leisurely tie the coat. There's a step back single whip, whereas we have done that step forward single whip. And then there's a movement that's called repulse the monkey. That's fun. We come here, So it's just a lot of fun. So the more that you get into it, that's you know, what if y'all are interested and willing to learn, I'm willing to teach y'all all of it. But I really enjoy the advanced and the part 2 movements. So we're not there yet, but that gives you a preview. And right now we'll go through our basic 6, starting with commencement. So if it is helpful for y'all, I will turn around and make sure I'm in view. So here we go. Thinking about our body awareness, we have our feet shoulder width apart, our good posture, hands to our sides. And commence, we bring those hands up, down, shift the weight to that right leg, step left, hands come up, shift left as those hands go out, bring the right foot forward, hands come back, open and close. Single whip, shift left, step right, push, turn, separate, following that left hand. Shift left, bring that right foot back, waving hands in clouds. Step right, fix your hands, wave. Shift, step, switch, 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 wave. To the middle for open and close. Now let's do it to the left side. Single whip, shift right, step left, push, turn, separate, following that right hand. Shift right, bring that left foot back, hands down, waving hands in clouds. Step out left, fix hands, wave. Shift, step, switch, 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 wave. To the middle for open and close. And close it out. So that's our basic 6. What questions do you have?
You just blew my mind.
It's a matter of practice.
Yes.
Did you see, you might not have had a chance to watch the rest of the class from last week, but did you see where I talked about putting those words on a paper to put on the wall in front of you when you're practicing of step, switch, wave, step, shift, or shift, step, switch, wave.
Okay, this is which one?
For waving hands in clouds.
All right, repeat those steps, the
Okay.
words.
Let me turn around and, well, no, I don't have to turn around. So I just finished single whip, okay? Single whip, and I'm here for waving hands in clouds. So it's step, switch, wave, shift, okay? So there it was. It was step, switch, or change hands, wave, and then shift. And then it starts all over again. Step, switch, wave, shift, step, switch, wave, shift, step, switch, wave. So if you put those words, whether it be step, you can put step and then switch or change, whichever ones make sense to you, wave, and then shift. So those 4 words. Then you don't have to think about it. You can just look at your list, what's in front of you, and do those things. After you do it so many times, then it starts to just be memory. Your body does it without you thinking. That, you know, that just comes with practice. My daughter is a dancer, and so I tell her about, in Tai Chi, I can sit here and talk to you about my shopping trip at Walmart and do the whole series of Tai Chi movement and never really think about it because I've done it so many times. It's just my body has a memory for it. I don't even have to think about it, right? So that just takes time. It takes practice. But that's what I had to do. Whenever I first started, was make notes on the walls. I made y'all that sheet that has the list of the movements in order. I did that for myself. I put it on the wall. That way I didn't have to think what comes after commencement, what comes after, you know, waving hands and clouds. You know, do I go right first? Do I go left first? You know, I made that list of movements so that it's your brain while you're learning. And then that, before you know it, you won't even need that paper. You'll just know. But with waving hands and clouds, I don't need the paper anymore that says step, switch, wave, shift. I don't need the paper anymore, but I think it in my head when I'm doing that movement. So I've done that single whip, and then I start step, switch, wave, shift, step, switch, wave, shift, step, switch, wave, shift. And you can do that until you hit the wall. You don't have to just do it 3 times, but you can do it until you hit a wall and then come back and go the other way. But that order is the same going both directions. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I have this, see, months ago, I had to have a meeting with my trainer, and she has to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly, or else I can't be certified. And so, because you know how you get nervous when you're, I mean, I would get nervous when she was in there, and I'd be afraid that I would forget something that I knew. So I made this little cheat sheet paper to have on the wall in front of me. That way, if I forgot whatever I was supposed to say, it was right there in front of me, and she didn't know that it was. But it's just still in here by my computer. And that's that waving hands and clouds, where it says step, change, wave, shift. And then it talks about the principles of Tai Chi, because that's something that sometimes I'll get a brain fart about. I always know slow, smooth, and continuous, but sometimes I can't remember what's under movement control and what's under body structure. So cheat sheets are great to help be your brain when there's so much going on. So don't be, I'm not ashamed that I even have cheat sheets, but, and I'll even show y'all here. Oh gosh, I'm gonna try not to mess anything up. See this on the wall behind me or in front of me? See, I have what is Tai Chi, Tai Chi benefits, program features, and then there is that Tai Chi principles again. So I have that twice right here in front of me while I'm teaching y'all's class. That way, if I ever need to refer to my, you know, posters to know that I'm saying the right thing, then it's just right there. So now y'all know the my secrets is that my notes are there just in case my brain doesn't want to work. So I just advise you to make a little paper that whatever parts that you need that extra brain for, then have those up there. So if you don't have any questions about a certain movement or a part of the movement, then we can just practice. But if there are certain parts of these movements that you have questions about, let's go over that.
No, I don't have any questions. I just need to practice.
Okay. Sometimes I'll have a question about arm placement. So when you're doing that wave, this hand is down here by your hip. This hand is a cross-bodied, and here's your wave. And then you switch here. So now that one's down by your hip. This one's cross-body, and you wave. So when your hand's down by your hip, it's palm down. And whenever your hand is waving, it's palm out. So that may be something you hadn't thought of, hadn't asked a question about. But remember that movement of waving hands in clouds is the same movement as our spine warm up, that one with the ball where we go side to side.
Oh, that's helpful.
So that's that same movement. If you watch my torso, I'll just change my hands from the spinal warm up to waving hands in clouds. So you see my body, it stayed the same. It was just the difference in my hands. So that's waving hands in clouds. And then back to our ball. My body never changed its movement. It was just a hand difference. So that spinal warm up is an introduction to your waving hands in clouds. So another tip is that when you step right, you're gonna wave right. Shift, step, switch. Now I'm gonna wave left, shift left, right? So step, switch, wave, step. So here's the step. Now that tells me I'm going that direction. Shift, step. So the foot I just stepped with is the direction I'm going to wave. That makes sense? Okay. Now when we're going to that the left the first time, we're stepping to the left. That's why this wall gets in my way. And you see when I do that first single whip, I can't do it completely because that wall's in the way, but that or that here. So I'm walking that way by going step, shift, step, shift, step, shift, step, shift, step, shift, step. So the first waving hands in clouds, I'm walking to my right by stepping. That's called a follow step. That second step is called a follow step. Step, shift, follow step, shift, step, shift, follow step. But they're going that direction. And when we do waving hands in clouds to our left, we do the same thing. Step, step, follow step, shift, step, shift, follow step. So you can practice just that walking to the side and forget the hand movement for that moment. Just practicing that stepping, shift to the side. There's a little bit of a learning curve to it by knowing how large to make your steps, right? So if I were to do waving hands and clouds and I go step, right now I got a problem. My legs are way too far apart. So same thing as if I step out here, shift. If I step here, my feet are just right beside each other. I got a problem again, because when I try to shift to that left foot, I'm going to fall down and I'm not going to have the balance. So learning just how far your steps are is important. A general rule is my feet are a little further than shoulder width apart, shift right at shoulder width apart. So I'm going from a little wider than shoulder width, shift to shoulder width, shift a little wider than shoulder width, shift to shoulder width, shift a little wider than shoulder width, shift at shoulder width. So that's about the foot placement as you're walking to the side. Where your foot is when you're getting ready to step, okay, you see where this foot is right here. I'm fixing the step. So I'm going to pick it up from where it is right now, and I'm placing it just beside. So I'm going from here to here. So my foot is literally going from one space to the space right beside it. You know, I'm not taking these huge steps. It's just lifting that foot and placing it right beside. You know, you shift, step. So that was a tiny little step from shoulder width to just wider than shoulder width. Shift. Now I'm going to do it with this foot. It's here. It's a little further than shoulder width. Now I'm going to put it right beside where it was to be at shoulder width. Shift just outside shoulder width. Shift at shoulder width. Shift, step right beside where I was. Shift, step right beside where I was. So practice that foot placement and how tiny those steps are as you walk. We're not doing big leaps to the side. They're really small steps with the waving hands and cloud.
Okay, that's helpful, very helpful.
Good. So practice that step. You know, just practice walking to the side. The more we add hands and feet together, the more complicated it is. The more we get overwhelmed. So break it down. Do that stepping, practice what that feels like, and then practice what the wave feels like. Just practice each part, then get your cheat note out that says the words step, switch, wave, shift. Get your cheat sheet out, and then put the upper body and lower body together, even if it feels choppy. It should feel choppy whenever you're first learning. That's just how it is when you learn. So when you practice it choppy, it's okay. We did waving, or we did single whip. We step, switch or change, wave, shift. So here I'm chopping it up. Switch. I'm almost like a robot. Shift, step, switch, wave, shift, step, switch, wave. It's like a robot, right? Very chopped up movements. The more you practice, then you start thinking slow, smooth, and continuous, and you start looking like this when you do your waving hands and clouds. It's a smooth movement. There's not the choppiness to it. Here I'm shifting as I'm waving. So you lose that choppiness because you're familiar with the movements. So that's how that movement progresses with practice. So yes, be patient with yourself. Practice the parts and the pieces of it. Practice putting it together as choppy as you need to, as slow as you need to, as much reliant on your notes as you need to. And then, you know, give yourself permission to mess it all up, but still try it. Hey, let's try a little slow, smooth, and continuous to that movement. So here, when I wave, I'm starting to shift the weight. And when I get here, that's when I completely finish the weight shift. Step and change kind of happens at that same time. I step and I start the change. I'm shifting, completely change, just like that. It's smooth. The transition from one movement to the next isn't choppy like step, switch, change, shift, step, switch. But you can't get to the smooth, pretty part until you've done this one. I just say that again and again so that you give yourself permission to not be, you know, perfect, to not look exactly like it's supposed to look. You know what I'm saying? All right, so we'll just turn around and practice, if that's okay. Are y'all good on that? You're good on waving hands and clouds?
On the foot, on the leg work.
On the hands too?
No, the legs.
You're not.
I'm good on the legs.
You're good on the legs. It's the hands that you feel a little uncertain about.
Right.
Okay. So remember, the hands of waving, the handwork of waving hands and clouds is like that, holding that ball and taking that ball side to side. So your torso is moving like this. So I'm here. Oh, I'm doing the ball. See how my torso's moving as I step. It's just like that, except I'm not holding the ball. Instead, I have one hand by my hip. The other hand starts off crossbody, but as I move that torso, that hand goes from over here to just above this thigh. Now I switch and wave. Switch, wave, switch, wave. Some people like to think of it as hitting a drum. So whenever you get to here, hit the drum. Bring the hand up to the other side, hit that drum. Bring the hand up, do that torso movement, hit the drum. Up, across, 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 hit the drum. So is that helpful to think about bringing that hand down to hit that drum, and then this hand comes across, hit the drum, up, here, here. The first time it was explained to me was like wax on, wax off, like in the Karate Kid. In the Karate Kid, I think he goes wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, like he's like this, wax on, wax off. It is similar to that in that you're wax on, wax off. It's a little different, but that's how it was first explained to me. It's a circular movement here. So if you think about what one hand is doing, it's going here, here. This is the motion of that hand. Without a torso movement, it's going here. Hold on, here. It's hard to do with just one hand. There it is. So I go down, over, up, over, down, over, up, across. So that's, I don't know if that's kind of like a circle, I guess. Almost feels like a rectangle when you chop it up, but that's there. I'm probably talking way too much about it. But that is the similarities of those movements, and also some you know, helpful ways that help others. Like I said, beat the drum, or wax on, wax off, in other places that you may have seen it. Just like the torso movement where we have our ball and we're going side to side. That's the same as waving hands in clouds. And so we're stopping here. We're not going way over here, just like when we have our ball and we're torso moving to the side. You know, we're not going way over here, because that can actually hurt our spine and cause us pain or cause us injury. So, you know, just keeping those things in mind, that we don't want to make it any bigger or further than what it already is. So do you feel better about the upper body movement of waving hands in clouds?
Yes.
And I know it means practice. So I mean, if you don't feel like you have it at perfection, then at least if you feel, I see you, Miss Faye. Look at you waving hands in clouds. Oh, great. I know you can't talk for some reason, but it looks great. It's slow, smooth, and continuous. So keep that up. So let's go over just our basic 6 movements together. And then y'all let me know if you have anything else. It's already 11:25. How does time go by so fast? All right, I guess they say when you're having fun, then the time flies. So let's, I'll turn around and we'll start with commencement. All right, so here we go. Get your body right. Make sure you're gonna breathe. And here we go. Commence. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. There's the step, switch, wave, shift, 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 step, switch, wave. To the middle for open and close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Step, switch, wave, shift, 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 step, switch, wave, to the middle for open and close, and close it out. You good on that?
With practice.
Very good. So keep on practicing those. I will let's cool down. That's where we start off by giving ourselves a little fist massage to our thighs. This week I'm going to be doing a video that introduces you to the brush knee movement. That's the first movement in our advanced 6. At any time you say, whoa, Nellie, let's don't go, keep going forward, we won't go forward. But I'll keep making the videos to introduce you to the next movements. All right, so let's tense our muscles, tense up. We don't like that feeling. It feels much better to relax. So we gather and release, gather, release, gather tension, and release. Do that big shoulder circle. Inhale as you come up and exhale as you go down. One more. And to end our class, we have our strength. That's our right fist. Our left hands, this is our friendship, fingers up and together. Our thumb bent in, that's our humility. So we have strength, friendship, and humility. And in mutual respect, we say namaste.
Namaste.
So very good. Like I said, I'll send you a video on brush knee. I'll go ahead right now and give you an introduction to it. The first movement of advanced 6 starts with brush knee, and it looks like this from behind. So basically, we're going from facing one way to facing the other way. But rather than going from here and just jumping, which is not very Tai Chi, we have to weight shift. So we go from here, shift, shift, step, shift, follow step. So that's how we end up to the other side, is by shifting our weight. There's some options which you'll see in the video I make, where when I shift my weight and turn that toe in like that, that really kind of looks awkward, doesn't it? Well, not everyone can do this motion right here. For one, your feet are fairly close together, so that can be off-putting for people with balance issues. And for two, if you have knee problems, that does not feel good on your knee. So we modify that movement by shifting and stepping out, and then shifting here, then stepping. So that widens your stance so that you're more stable. So just have that to look forward to where we do make modifications. Let it also be a reminder that anytime that you feel uncomfortable with a movement, just let me know and I'll help you with a modification. Okay, sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, are y'all good to go, or do y'all need any more help or have any more questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, as always, just let me know, okay?
All right.
And I hope y'all have a wonderful week.
You too, and thank you again.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.